What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another preview, but not just any preview. It is the North London derby this weekend. Tottenham against Arsenal, 2 o'clock kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday, which promises to be a ferocious atmosphere. The fans need to be up for it. The players need to be up for it. It is our time to end Arsenal's season once and for all and get that title firmly away from, I was going to say North London, but it's pretty much South London at this point. They sing North London forever before every single home game, which I think is a bit disingenuous to their fans, to our fans, to everyone involved in North London. But look, it's a big day on Sunday. Even regardless of the title race, it's always a big game, even if there's nothing on the line.
Of course, we've been mid-table, just trying to get a point off them in years gone by, and there's always been a massive game, so there's always pride on the line, but this definitely means a lot. People saying this is the biggest North London derby in years. Do you reckon it's bigger than the one back a couple of years ago under Conte when we had to fight for top four?
I mean, they try and make their narratives. I mean, they say it's the biggest North London derby for years, like every single time there's just something to play for, but... I mean, I speak to a lot of Arsenal fans and they think the title's already gone. I don't know if they're just trying to play it down a little bit, but they are top of the league. They're going to go into this game top of the league. So is it the biggest...
We've got City to play as well, so it's not completely gone, even if we get something out of this game.
Yeah, so is it the biggest North London derby in years? I'm not so sure, just because only one team essentially has something to play for, in my opinion. But 2 years ago, it was Spurs and Arsenal going head-to-head for the same goal. I think that one was a bit bigger.
100%, I agree with you. And I think that's always going to be bigger when we're literally going up against them, and whoever won that game meant who was going to get top four. So I think that was a bit bigger. But
the prize on the line is a bit bigger this time, though, for Arsenal.
Well, Arsenal winning the Premier League, yeah, sure. But and they go a long way to maybe... towards that goal. But even if they do beat us, it's still not in their hands, is it? They still need City to slip up, and they need to be perfect after that. So,
yeah.
Still a lot to play for even after this game. But if we can give them one of the daggers in their heart for their title race, quite with a few games to go, that'll be so sweet. You saw how much it meant to Everton in midweek, doing the same to Liverpool. Although they're obviously battling for survival, it shows how teams can up their game in these kind of situations. And I think we got to take inspiration from that and make sure that we're not allowing Arsenal to play for us like we were allowed Newcastle and Fulham to play for us so easily. And we just got to make sure we're really up for this game, but I've got no doubt about we will be.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, it's just, don't get it twisted, this game always just means so much. And I really hope that Ange has drilled into the players just how much this game means. And they'll know how much it means as soon as they step foot in that stadium. Not even step foot in that stadium, but just get on the high road before the game. They'll see exactly what this game means.
Just annoying that it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
they
want to decrease the drinking time, don't they?
Yeah, if it was in the evening though, I think the high road would be more packed. You might get a few more things.
Don't you worry, the high road is going to be packed. Straight from 10 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning, whatever time the pub's open, there'll be fans there. But look, we're going to go into predicted lineup, to match preview, and then we've got a tactical board as well to get through. But let's start off talking about the predicted lineup going into this massive North London derby. In terms of the injury news coming into this, what have we got?
Yeah, so obviously Doggy is out for the season. He had a injury in training, which means he's had to have surgery. Came out of nowhere, really, took everyone by surprise. So big shock there, but he's not going to be available for this game. Ollie Skip has a minor injury, and he's going to be missing this weekend, but not thought to be too serious. And those add on to the long-term absentees of Solomon, Sessegnon and Fraser Forster, who are not going to be seen until next season at the earliest. So... some of them maybe not even ever again, but we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the injury news going into this one.
Yeah, Ange said that Udoki's injury was an unfortunate training ground incident. I mean, with the North London derby coming up, can't they just go easy on each other just in the build up to that? Come on. But it's a massive loss for us, Destiny Udogi. But let's get into this predicted lineup. 4-3-3 as per usual. In goal is going to be Vicario, and there's been a lot of debates coming into this. Who's been the better keeper this year, Vicario or David Raya?
Yeah, definitely. And I think Vicario has a good argument to say it's been him. I do think he's a better shot stopper than Raya. I think Raya, that's something he can struggle at sometimes, I feel like. I don't think he's the best shot stopper, especially from range. I think he gets caught out quite a bit. But I think given his recent good form rare. He's got really good stature from set pieces. He's got obviously really good ability with his kicking. I think a lot of people praise Vicario's kicking, but I think his technique is still not quite there yet. Even when they're accurate, it's not like they're not like right onto a player's chest or feet. Sometimes it's just good in the general direction. Needs to improve his technique. Whereas Raya, he's a much better passer of the ball, I feel. So whether we got the better deal still remains to be seen. But Vicario, I'm still very happy with him, and I think he's had a great season. And he's going to have an important game because you know how Arsenal are from set pieces. They're very, very good. So he's going to have to be on it.
Yeah, that's a massive cause for concern for me, the set pieces. But I guess where Vicario is really going to earn his money this weekend is the shot stopping, and he's been great at that all season. So Vicario in goal. Right back, it was touch and go if he can make it or not, but Pedro Porro is back in the frame as confirmed by Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, crucial. So important to the way we play. I think he's so important to our build-up as well. He's going to have a busy afternoon. He's going to have to make sure he's contributing in the final third in as well. He's going to have to make sure Martinelli or Trossard, whoever plays on left wing, is not getting the joy that especially Trossard has in recent weeks. He's in great form, Trossard. He's been very kind of efficient for Arsenal in recent weeks. Been one of the players who keeps getting the opening goal. Got the opening goal against Wolves, got the opening goal against Chelsea. So he's clearly been quite an important player for them recently. So he's got to make sure he's keeping him quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of how he can impact us on the ball and really hurting Arsenal, it was imperative that he was going to play.
Definitely, because if you have Emerson there, all of a sudden that's just like another player in the build-up who's not going to help us progress the ball up. And with Porro now there and available, and he's got quality and he's got good set-piece delivery as well, it's crucial that he was available for this game.
Right centre-back, we're obviously going to look at Cuti Romero. Last time we had a big London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, he did lose his head a little bit, getting sent off in that 4-1 defeat to Chelsea in the very early stages of the season. But ever since then, I think he has kept his cool and he's been a standout performer for Spurs, so Cuti Romero.
Yeah, and if it's going to be Kai Havertz up front, it's going to be very interesting, that kind of battle, because Havertz is quite a strong
physical player.
Yeah. Albeit, he's not on like the physicality levels of like a, I don't know, Awioni or someone, or Haaland even. But he's got tall stature, big frame, and he does have a bit about him. So he's got to have to make sure, because obviously I don't think Havertz is a massive threat running in behind. But he's got to have to make sure that when Havertz gets the ball into feet, he's on him like a rash, like we know he is. And if Romero's playing at his best and he's pinching the ball of Havertz, that goes a long way to making sure that Arsenal aren't able to sustain attacks and we can win the ball off them. Havertz has done a really good job recently shielding the ball, bringing other players into play, and also just being on that kind of half turn and getting in on goal as well. I think Romero's got a crucial role here to make sure that Havertz is kept quiet.
Yeah, and he's also a player that can get under your skin a little bit. He draws a lot of fouls. He gives away a lot of fouls as well, Kai Havertz. So I think it's really important that Romero doesn't get drawn into that and just keeps his cool for the game. Next up is Mickey van der Ven at left centre-back. We all know what he can bring to the game, and he's just going to be imperative.
Yeah, he's going to be vital. Obviously, I think he's going to have to help out Ben Davies with Bukayo Saka on that side. I depending on who Arsenal play up front, like with the passes in behind or balls over the top, I don't think he's going to be worried too much about Kai Havertz, but I definitely think Saka is definitely someone he's going to be worried about. He's so good at finding those little pockets of space in behind. And getting in on the back line. So I think Van der Ven might have to come over on some points, but he's got to make sure he times it to perfection, because if he comes over and doesn't win the ball, there's going to be all that space for Arsenal to exploit, and maybe that's what they want. So it's a difficult tactical battle to make sure we're getting the best use out of him. But when it comes to a striker getting on the end of something over the top, I don't think he's too worried about Havertz doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then to make up that back four at left back for the injured Destiny Udogie, we've got Ben Davies at left back, and that is clearly the weak link in that back four. Yeah,
he's going to have to up his game. It's a massive game for Ben Davies. I'm not worried about him, giving his all, being positionally in the right position. I think defensively as well, he is a good defender. I'm just worried about him having to defend large bits of space. I'm worried about him if he is playing that inverted role, taking the ball with minimal space and trying to progress us up the pitch and turning like Udogie can, running up the pitch. I don't think he's obviously got that in him, but he's got to be a bit smarter, which is what Davis usually is. So hopefully he can really turn up in this one.
Yeah, I just really hope that he kind of focuses on the defensive aspect of the game, because we know when Destiny Udogie plays in that position and the way Ange Postecoglou likes to deploy his fullbacks, they forage up the pitch, they become two number 10s in that area of the pitch. I don't think that's Davis's game, so I'd prefer him just to err on the side of caution more in this game.
Me too, and that's what I hope he does, but we'll have to wait and see.
So that's the back four. In terms of the number 6, we are sticking with Yves Bissouma, and I do worry for him in this game with the midfielders that he is coming up against. You know, the likes of Jorginho, the likes of Declan Rice, the likes of Martin Odegaard, all three of them on massive form.
Yeah, and whoever we play, you could give the same problem with, because none of our midfielders are really on the best form at the moment. So that's something we're just going to have to contend with. Hopefully, you can take inspiration of how we played at the Emirates earlier in the season, and maybe watch that game back and see if we can kind of get that level of performance back, because he was very good in that game and really bossed it, especially in that second half. So obviously, I remember we did have our struggles in the first half as well, and he did especially, but hopefully this 2-week break would have done him well, and it's not going to be an easy game, but if we're going to win this game, we need our Bissouma at his very best. So we're going to make sure he's taking the ball in the half turn, he's taking risk, he's playing with confidence, and that's just what we're going to have to hope for.
Yeah, and that was it in the first game, right? Because in the first half of that game at the Emirates, Declan Rice was playing. The second half, he got taken off because of an injury, and that's when Bissouma came alive. So when he was actually up against Declan Rice, he did struggle a little bit in that first half.
He had already got into the game with like 10 minutes to go into the second half, or maybe into the first half, sorry. So maybe maybe it's because Rice had an injury potentially, and he dropped off a bit. But Bissouma was gaining an influence even in the first half. So let's hope he takes inspiration from that.
Next up, in the number 8, we're going to look at Pape Matar Sarr. I don't think he's maybe performing as he was in the early stages of the season, but in terms of what he can bring you, the legs he brings to midfield, he as well could be vitally important for us. Yeah,
we think he's going to come in for Bentancur, who just hasn't quite done it when he's come in. Although, I think on the ball, we're seeing signs of Bentancur getting back to his best. He's still clearly off the pace, off the ball, in my opinion. He's still not able to get around the pitch in the same way he used to. So until that happens, obviously Sarr not in the best of form, but hopefully again this little break will have done him well. He can get his energy back. He was struggling with a back injury, wasn't he? And hopefully he's overcome that now. And he covers so much ground. He can be so intense. So I think he's going to be a very important player for this one.
To make up that midfield 3 will be James Maddison, who as well himself not really on the best of form, but you cast your mind back to the Emirates, he really took authority that game, took responsibility that game, and played. He was he man of the match? I can't remember, but he was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, with 2 assists, absolutely ruining Saka for one of the goals as well. So we need him in that kind of mode this weekend.
Definitely, it's going to be very important that Maddison is adds that bit of magic to the midfield that we've been missing in recent weeks. You saw how important Odegaard can be for that Arsenal team. We need Maddison to start providing those sort of moments for us, which in recent weeks it just hasn't really happened for him. I do think it's more of a case of form is temporary, class is permanent with Maddison. I'm sure he'll get back to it, but it hasn't got to happen recently. He's going to have a big job getting away from the likes of Rice and whoever, Jorginho or Partey, whoever they do play in the centre, but he's got the quality to do it, so it's on him to step up in this game.
Yeah, so a midfield 3 of Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison. On the right hand side of the attack, we are going to go for Dejan Kulusevski. Recently had a child on his birthday, and hopefully he can take that kind of spirit into this game, because he hasn't been playing well. So I think the main reason why we've picked him for this game is his ability to keep the ball.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be so crucial against this Arsenal side. Also, they do play left back. It could be Zinchenko, or probably going to be Tomiyasu on that right-hand side. And he's a strong defender, and he's someone who's going to confront you. And I just feel like if Johnson's playing, when Tomiyasu's getting stuck into him, it's going to be a lot harder for Johnson to keep the ball, whereas Decky can ride a few challenges and bring other players into play. So we're thinking Decky, maybe spurred on by the birth of his child, could have a much better display as well. I thought he was a bit better against Newcastle last time out when he came on as well. So we're going to go with him to start. We know Decky on the right can cause some problems for Spurs, but hopefully in this game it can solve some as well.
Up front in the number 9 is obviously going to be Heung-min Son. Richarlison is back fit, as Ange Postecoglou has confirmed, but we are sticking with Heung-min Son just to get the most lethal finisher in the Premier League close to the goal.
Yeah, and the way Arsenal play, we're going to need that threat in behind. We're going to need someone who's able to stretch Arsenal. With Gabriel and Saliba being in great form, you need someone who at least threatens to hurt them in behind. And Richarlison doesn't quite do that. We know Son does. Son has a great record against Arsenal. He's a great record against the top 3. He scored 2 at the Emirates earlier in the season. So I think if anyone's going to hurt Arsenal, I think it is going to be Sonny.
And to make up that final 11, we are going for Brennan Johnson out on the left-hand side. He did start on the left-hand side at the Emirates, went off early in the second half due to an injury. So he gets another crack at the whip this time. Yeah, and also in our last good performance, really, or better, he started on the left against Villa. So we know he can do it. Yes, it's going to be difficult getting past Ben White in the form he's in, but as well, I also think the way Arsenal play, they leave 2 at the back, and if we can have a dual threat in behind of Johnson and Son looking to score goals in that way, I think that could really help us hurt Arsenal. So we're thinking Johnson on the left here. All right, so let's run through that lineup with you guys one more time. This is our predicted lineup to end Arsenal's title hopes. It's Vicario in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Ben Davis left back, Cuti Romero and Mickey van der Ven in the centre-back positions, Bissouma, Pape Matar, James Maddison field, with Dejan Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson and Heung-min Son up top. So that is our predicted lineup. Let us know in the comment section below, do you agree with our lineup? If not, put your lineups in the comment section. But let's get on to the match preview. And like I keep reiterating, what a massive game this is. It's always a big game when Arsenal come to town, but now a title's on the line for Arsenal. It's time for Spurs to put their money where their mouth is and end this title hopes for Arsenal. It's just like, it's that fixture, isn't it, that you just look forward to at the start of every season.
Doesn't sound like anyone's looking forward to it this time.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it, but for one, I am looking forward to it, and I think a draw or a win is a great result for us in terms of trying to end their hopes. You're looking at the way Man City are playing right now, and they're in like full end of season Man City mode, aren't they? They're just battering away everyone. So I think if Arsenal drop points in one of their last 4 games this season, I do think that's their title hopes dead. Well, at the moment, Man City 1 point behind with a game in hand. That game in hand is Spurs away, so not an easy game, and it's a fixture they have historically struggled. So not only if Arsenal win, not only are they giving themselves a good chance of the title, but also they're relying on us to help them again against Man City later in the season, which is quite a funny situation to be in. So it's a double-edged sword. If Spurs lose this game, they're then going to they are going to try and win the game against City, whether fans like it or not. Andrew's going to try and win that game. So from a fan's point of view, if we don't get any points in this one, there's always a chance we could gift Arsenal the title later down the line, which is not a situation we want to be in at all. So that's why it's doubly as important that we do go and get something out of this game and make sure that Arsenal's title charge is derailed. I do think Arsenal do approach these bigger games this season in a different kind of way, I believe. You saw earlier in the season, a few weeks ago, against Man City, they approached it in a different way. They didn't maybe play the way they would have done it last season or 2 seasons ago, where they just stuck to their game plan. They played how they usually do, kind of just going at them and leaving themselves exposed and end up losing. They decide in these bigger games now, we're going to be a bit more pragmatic, we're going to be a bit smarter, and we're going to approach the game this way. But as much as, yes, that did get them a draw against Man City, a draw's not good enough in this game for them. They need a win. So whether they approach the game in the same way, I wonder, because they can't afford to go to draw this game. They can't afford to sit there at the end of the game thinking, could we have done more to go for the win? And maybe against Man City, they could have felt that way because there's a lot of games to go and it's more important they don't lose than win. But it's not the same in this game. And the fact of the matter is, they haven't won an away game against a top 6 team this season. Now, whether that be because of that different approach they take, or whether that be it's because these are tougher games and they're not quite at the level where they can win these games yet, remains to be seen. But it's going to be interesting to see the kind of approach Arsenal do go into in this game, because I feel like if they go into that pragmatic style, I think that probably doesn't suit us, to be honest. But as well, if you allow us to dominate the ball, allow us to play our football, and all of a sudden maybe we can find those moments where we do hurt them. Yeah, I think Yes and no. I mean, we do find it hard to break down these teams that just sit in their kind of shape and make it really difficult for us. And it will also give them opportunities on the counter attack. And we all know the players that they do have that they can hurt us. Bukayo Saka, Trossard, or Martinelli, whichever one plays. They've got the players with the space and the speed that can get in behind. So I think either way is a massive cause for concern. I think for me, I would prefer them to come out a bit more and to attack us and to really, and then we can find those spaces more in behind instead of trying to just like play that shoehorn football as we do when teams are sitting in a low block or a mid block against us. So I think I'd prefer them to come out a bit more and to try and go and win the game. If they do sit back and play like they did against Man City, I do fear for us. I really do.
Yeah, if they're going to play like that, then obviously Richarlison is going to be the better option to start, isn't it? Because he's going to be the one more likely to make something happen inside the penalty area with defenders, defending like they do, rather than someone like a Son. If they do come at us, then Son is the perfect kind of guy in a kind of, if we're playing on transition a lot and trying to get the ball forward quickly into space, then Son's the guy you need in those positions. So it's an interesting one. How they play is going to dictate what our best lineup should be, and we don't know that until the game starts. So it's an interesting dilemma for Ange Postecoglou to overcome in this game, how we approach it and what kind of lineup we go with. If they sit back, yeah, maybe it could pay off, but then again, they've struggled to get wins this season when they've played that approach. As much as they've not been they've not lost, they have struggled to get wins. So will that happen again in this game? And whether you like or not, Spurs are a top five team. I know we've taken some bad defeats this season, but we're at home. We've won 8 out of the last 9. We haven't lost at home. We've lost one game at home this year, haven't we? Because we lost to Wolves.
Yeah.
And before the Wolves game, our last loss I think was West Ham at home.
It was in that run, Villa, West Ham, and Chelsea.
So it was the West Ham before that so we've lost one home game since the West Ham game.
Yeah.
So we are a tough team to play against at home. We win a lot of games. We react to the crowd's energy a lot. The crowd get behind us. So it's going to be a very difficult game for Arsenal, and we're going to really see what their mentality is all about in this game, with how they approach it, whether they can overcome that atmosphere. Obviously, last year they beat us 2-0 at the Tottenham Stadium. It was a very disappointing day, and it was a disappointing performance from Spurs. We didn't ever lay a glove on them. But with the bravery we know we're going to show under Ange Postecoglou, well, I know we got the quality to play football against anyone when we're on our game. And we just got to hope we're on our game in this one.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Arsenal, and I know they had a really impressive victory last time out against Chelsea. But there has been a string of performances and a string of results where I don't think they've actually looked that convincing. The 2 legs against Bayern, I think Bayern were clearly the better side against them. You're looking at the game against Aston Villa. Yeah, they had a few chances in the first half, but I thought Villa well deserved that 3 points in a really important game at the Emirates as well. And then that Wolves game, I just felt like, Wolves were hampered massively, but I felt like if Wolves did have a few of their attacking players like the Cunhas, a fully fit Hwang playing, they could have hurt them that day. So there are kind of chinks in their armoury at the moment. Don't you agree?
Yes, the problem is they've just won 5-0 against Chelsea, so have those chinks been overcome? Like in that, well, it was hard to say. What I would say about that Chelsea game is I was watching a bit of it, and and in the first half, as much as Arsenal had chances, Chelsea could definitely have gone into that half-time level. Chelsea did have quite a few chances in that first half to get on the score sheet. If you look at the the stats in that first half, very even. And even though Petrovic was the busier keeper, Chelsea as well had quite a few chances in that first half. So it could have easily been level. But the problem is they didn't go in level, and then Arsenal completely destroyed them in the second half. So it's hard to say whether they've overcome that based off just that performance against a Chelsea team who had to play a kid at right back as well, no Cole Palmer. So a lot of instances in their favour. I definitely think in the games before that, they definitely didn't seem at their best, for sure. The Wolves game, they could have easily been losing at half-time. They ended up getting a goal on the stroke of half-time and leading. And, with Wolves not having any attackers on the pitch, once you get in the lead, it was going to be very difficult for Wolves to overcome that situation. And then the Villa game, deservedly lost. Bayern, they could have easily lost that first leg, and they did lose the second leg and ended up deservedly going out, disappointingly so.
Depends which way you look at it.
Huh?
Depends which way you're looking at it.
Why?
Because I wouldn't say it was disappointing. I was very happy.
Oh, sorry. No, yeah, disappointing for Arsenal, not disappointing for us for sure. But deservedly going out to Bayern Munich. So considering the form they were on before that, it seemed as though they were scoring lots of goals. They were taking teams that scored, winning 4-5-0 against the likes of Palace and Burnley and Sheffield United and West Ham, were scoring lots of goals. So look, they looked at imperious form, but as soon as they hit some quality teams, all of a sudden it wasn't quite the same. So whether Tottenham look at that and think, look, it's when they play good teams, they've struggled a lot more, and they are much more capable of dropping points. And that's something to look at, especially away from home.
No, absolutely. And I think, well, you look at their away from home form, and they haven't conceded a goal in their last 6 away games, which is absolutely crazy. The record is 7 in a row. So if they do shut us out this weekend, that is equal to the record. But what I want to say about that last...
Porto away, though, as well.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I mean, look, Arsenal are like a 3-pin plug, aren't they? They don't work in Europe. They only work in England. But I think that going back to what you were saying about the North London derby last season, when they were more than worth their 2-0 victory, could have been even more. Like you said, we didn't lay a glove on them. What I was really disappointed about that game is that the fans lost hope. And, 2 years ago when we did play them, we beat them 3-0. A massive part of that game was the fans and the atmosphere that the fans were creating. And as Gary Neville said, absolutely bodied, or I can't remember the actual term he used that day, but he said the brutalised, that was it. They brutalised the Arsenal team. And I want to see that again, because when Spurs fans have that kind of atmosphere, when that stadium is rocking, it makes it extremely, extremely hard for the away team to come and play their football, especially this Arsenal team, where we see that when they're up against it, when the pressure is really on, can they actually do it? Can they do it in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when we've got 60,000 fans making it such a hostile atmosphere, where they just can't, every time they get the ball, boo. Spurs fans, whenever Spurs players get the ball, you're cheering, you're singing songs at the top of your lungs. I want to see every Spurs fan coming into this game with the mentality that we can win, and I want to see every Spurs fan leave that stadium with absolutely no voice whatsoever. Even if we go 1-0 down, because Spurs fans do have a bit of a knack, and when we go 1-0 down, they get a bit apprehensive, they're quieting down. But even if we go 1-0 down in this stadium, we can't let that get to us, and we need to carry on cheering on the team right until the very end. And I think that can be a really important aspect in this game.
Definitely. The fans are very important, especially when it comes to derbies. We've seen how the players can feed off the fans' energy countless amount of times in this kind of game so often. How many times we've gotten a result when we were the far inferior team, because the fans just get the players up for it, and they feed off that energy, and they put in those challenges, they make those extra runs, and Spurs got to do that. And there's no excuse as well with 2 weeks off we've had. I know you could argue that Spurs go into this game cold, and maybe they need a game to warm up. Maybe having this 2-week break can work against you, but I don't want any excuses from this Spurs team about having 2 weeks off and that being a bad thing, because we should have energy in our legs. We should be able to outrun this Arsenal team. Arsenal have been the ones playing 4 games in the last 2 weeks, and so we've got to be able to have those energy levels to really take the game to them, make sure we're swarming over them, make sure we're not giving them an inch. And I know Ange Postecoglou is going to play the way he wants to, which is high pressing, which is getting in their faces, making sure they don't have time on the ball. Now Arsenal are a good enough team to overcome that. We just got to make sure we outlast them, we outrun them, and with 2 weeks off, there's no excuses why not to. And if we do that, that will get the crowd up for it, that'll get everyone on side, and hopefully they'll feed into each other, and it can be a great day.
Yeah, and we all know Ange Postecoglou, a lot of players have said it. Sonny has said it, Maddison has said it, Basuma has said it, how good of a motivator he is, and he'll play on that fact, won't he? He'll play on it about how important this is to the fans to go and win this game, to go and end their title hopes. Yes, Ange probably won't care himself maybe that they're in a title race, because he wants to be there himself. He's not really interested in top 4. He said that before, and it is all about kind of ending their title hopes this weekend. And I don't think Ange will use that as the motivation, but he'll use about what the fans' mentality and how the fans care about this fixture going into it. But look, let's look at the form going into this game. And in terms of the form, we've got Arsenal, obviously on the better form coming to it. But having said that, only both teams have won 2 games in their last 5. Arsenal, we know, are a very good defensive side, have the best defence in the league. Raya, I think, is one. Everton conceding 1 goal away from winning the Golden Glove this year. So how do we get at this Arsenal defence?
Oh, it's very difficult. It's the hardest defence to get at because Saliba and Gabriel are so fast, aggressive and strong. When they squeeze you, and when you're trying to get in behind them, they're very aggressive, and they've got so much physicality. They're hard to get past. Ben White, because he's played a lot of his career at centre back, he's very comfortable in the defensive kind of side of the game. He's quite good aerially as well. The big element where they're usually at their most vulnerable is on the left side of their defence. Usually when Zinchenko is playing, they're definitely vulnerable on that side. But recently they've been playing Kiwior and Tomiyasu on that side. And I think Kiwior recently has had some struggles. I believe he's had those struggles because he's an actual centre back. He's actually not that comfortable in the wide areas. The difference between him and Ben White is Ben White has spent time in midfield, and he's always been a bit of a ball playing centre back, so he's a lot more comfortable there. Whereas Kiwior, I don't believe that that's the case with him, and so when he's forced into those wide areas and he's facing speedy wingers with a lot of space, he can struggle in those areas as well. But when they're sitting deep, Kiwior's quite an effective defender, I feel. Tomiyasu's obviously good. The big problem with him is he's been having a lot of injuries ever since he joined Arsenal. He's quite a good defensive fullback. I feel like the problem with Tomiyasu is on the ball, you can pressure him and he can give the ball away. Not in dangerous positions, but once you pressure him, he doesn't progress the ball that effectively, unlike someone like Zinchenko who does. So there's a bit of give and take with the left side of their defence, but definitely that's the biggest area you get at them, because a lot of the time when they're taking the game to you, they leave just 2 at the back with Saliba and Gabriel, and if you hit them quickly enough, there's a lot of space in the wide areas to feed into. So you got to be quick, you got to be direct, but you just got to hit those wide areas. That's the best way.
Absolutely. Let's go and look at the head-to-head between Spurs and Arsenal, which doesn't make for good reading recently. We did draw this year early on at the Emirates. They did do the double over us last year. The last time that we did beat them was that game, or that top 4 playoff, essentially, when we did beat them 3-0 under Conte. So judging by this, we owe them one, don't we?
Definitely. We always owe them one. There's never a time we don't owe them one, for sure. So look, if we can get something out of this game, means we've gone unbeaten against them this season. So that's something to take as well, which would be nice. Our recent form hasn't been great, but last season they did do the double, and both games as well was really lackluster performances from Spurs. We didn't really show our best in either game. We went into those games with fear, I felt, in that last season. The one before that, especially the one where we won 3-0, we went into that game confident we could win that game. But after that, we did go wrong under Conte, and the whole team didn't look the same. They didn't look right, and we were just sitting back, waiting for teams to beat us, essentially. That's what it seemed like at that time. And Arsenal definitely didn't wait around. They went ahead and beat us quite comfortably. So we're going to have to right those wrongs from last season. But this season, I think playing with no fear could definitely help you in these bigger games. Having that mentality where if we lose playing our way, then that's fine. That can help you overcome that mental barrier of being scared of making a mistake, and that can hopefully mean that when we go into this game, we're not scared to play those risky passes. We're not scared to take on some of those Arsenal players, and that's the best way to kind of overcome them. Because we go into this game in fear of making a mistake, fear of what Arsenal can do. They're just going to beat us, and that's the reality. And
that brings me back to the point of the fans as well, right? Because if the fans come into this with a sense of apprehension, that will feed onto the pitch. Mm-hmm. It really will. So that means we, like I said before, we just need to be at it for 90 minutes, complete 90 minutes, or even longer than that, because we need to be at it before the game, after the game, with the celebrations after we do take the points. But if we come in, if the fans come into it with a mentality that we can win, and that seeps through from the stands onto the pitch, it will make those players seem about 10 feet tall, and that will even play into like, all right, we can win this game. We're going to be taking those risks. We're going to play the way we want to.
Definitely. I don't know if there's not going to be a tifo, is there?
Not that I know of.
because there was talk about it before, but then I don't know if they changed their minds or if they reversed their decision. So it would be nice if there was one, because that could really get the crowd going early on and that'll be a good spectacle, but we'll have to wait and see. But 100% the fans have to be at their loudest from minute one, and that can make a big difference.
In terms of Arsenal's team, though, in terms of their injuries and maybe what they've got coming into it, they've got Jury and Timber, actually, because Arteta said he could be actually included in this one. He's going to have a late fitness test. He has been playing for the under-21, scored an absolute worldie. But no, they haven't really had many injury problems this season, have they, Arsenal?
Yeah, they've been extremely lucky. We could call it luck. I don't know what you call it. Other teams, pretty much every other team, apart from Arsenal and City, have had really bad injury problems throughout the whole season.
I mean, City have had De Bruyne out for a long stretch, but it doesn't really hurt them.
Yeah, true. That's also a good fact. But Arsenal, I can't remember apart from Jesus, I can't remember too many major injuries they've had this season, to be honest. So they've had a lot of luck on that regard, and they come into this with pretty much a clean bill of health that they've had for most of the season. If you look at that team, it's a very strong team, and it's going to be very difficult to compete with. Rice has found a new role, obviously, in that number. We can play the 6 or the 8, but in that number 8 position, he's become not very effective, especially he's got confidence to go forward and take shots and be aggressive, and that's going to be a worry as well. If he's in the number 6 position, the amount of ground he can cover and how defensively aware he is, and the way he can carry the ball, he's extremely effective. So stopping Declan Rice having influence in this game is going to be crucial. Yeah,
Martin Odegaard as well, who's really... Like, we all know what a good player Martin Odegaard is. He's their captain, he's their leader, he leads their press. But first half of the season, I didn't think he really had a good half of the season. But since January here, he's been phenomenal, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's turned it on. Not only is he be getting like more regular goals and assists, but it's just general play. He never loses the ball. He always knows what he's doing. It seems like he has a picture in his mind of what he wants to do before he collects the ball. And you think... He picks up the ball in a situation where you think, oh, he's going to lose it here, and he ends up just wriggling out of it somehow. He's a marvellous player, Martin Odegaard. The only thing I would say compared to him and Maddison a lot of the time is Odegaard is very one-footed, whereas Maddison's a bit more two-footed, and hopefully that can help him in certain other situations. Maddison obviously hasn't been able to recapture the form he had in the earlier parts of the season, unfortunately. Hopefully this can be the game where that turns around. But it's interesting, Odegaard didn't have the best start didn't have the best start to the season and has had a great 2020 second half. Maddison had a great first half and not a great second half, but timing's all about how you see who's having a good season or not, isn't it, a lot of the time?
Yeah, I do think, like, here and now, Odegaard has had the better season than Maddison. I really believe that, as much as it hurts me to say. Another player who I want to talk about in the Arsenal team is Bukayo Saka, because we all know that he's been the danger man for the last couple of years, if not more, for Arsenal. Still at a very young age. I think he's, 21, 22, which is crazy to think about. It feels like he's been around forever, Bukayo Saka. But the way I look at Saka is, I think, like, between... I think it was January to the end of February, he was in unbelievable red-hot form, scoring multiple goals, laying on assists countless amount of times. But I actually don't think, as a season as a whole, he's had such a strong season.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I felt like in the early parts of the season, he wasn't playing well, but he kept scoring and getting a penalty here and just finding a moment where he could be effective. And to be fair, that's what good players do when they're not playing well. They find moments where they just can show their quality, and that's what he was doing. So he kept his numbers up, albeit his overall performances weren't at the best. Then he did go through a spell, as you say, where he was absolutely devastating. Teams couldn't handle him, and he was getting goals and assists for fun, and he was completely tearing teams to shreds. But recently, I don't know whether he's being overplayed or what's happening, but he definitely doesn't seem at his sharpest. He definitely seems a bit less effective. His XG might be low, but his expected limps definitely high, that's for sure. He's been limping a lot at the end of games. It is a classic staple now for Saka. Whenever he has a poor game, he just limps at the end, say, I've been injured. I'm injured at this game, so I didn't play well, which is quite funny. But look, he's still a great player. He's still learning, isn't he? Obviously, he's now come up with a different problem where teams are targeting him a bit more. They're doubling up against him. They're realising he's a threat, and he's got to overcome that. And to be fair to him, he's dealing with it fairly well, even though he's maybe being less effective. He's still coming up with moments of quality to make the difference. So I think it's all a learning curve for a player like Saka at his age. He hasn't been as effective in recent weeks. I'd also think they rely way too much on him. But I think the fact that he's still up there with the numbers shows his quality.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be seeing some more Saka limps at the end of the game on Sunday. But yeah, someone said in the comment, Limpayo Saka, that's his new name. That's his new name. But yeah, he's going to be hard to deal with. And with Destiny Udogie being out, that's even bigger cause for concern, isn't it?
The fact that Udogie, he dealt with him fairly well for a large part of the game at the Emirates, and now Davis is going to be up against him. Obviously, Davis being a very experienced defender, hopefully he can deal with that situation, but it's going to be very, very difficult because Davis, he's wrong side of 30 now. Saka's just young, exuberant. He's got the legs on Davis. So, and if Davis is caught out of position, it's going to be very, very difficult to deal with that situation. I just hope that Davis is smart enough not to let himself get caught in those situations.
Yeah, let's hope so. So we're going to get into tactics board in a minute. Just before we do, we have given our predictions, and I have said 2-2. Sim has said 2-1 to Tottenham. So let's hope. Like I said before, it's all about the fans, man. We have to brutalise them for 90 minutes, and if we do that, it increases the percentages of Spurs taking home something from this game massively. But let's get into the tactics board and see the avenues that Spurs can hurt this Arsenal team.
Yeah, and it's this is how we expect kind of both teams to set up in this one. It's obviously a match-up in kind of formation-wise, but both teams kind of play the formation a bit differently to each other. Obviously, what's quite interesting is with Arsenal, we're predicting Tomiyasu to play here now. When Zinchenko plays, you do a lot of the time find him in kind of this position here. He tucks inside a lot more and he gets involved in midfield. Tomiyasu and Kiwior not so much. They like to stay out wide. They like to protect their backline and not leave their backline as exposed. So if I'm looking at Tomiyasu, I'm expecting him to kind of hold the width a bit more, not kind of get involved. And what that could do is if we are tucking inside, especially the likes of Porro tucking inside here, that could leave a bit more of an outnumbering for Tottenham in these kind of situations. I'm hoping, especially if Kulusevski does like to get involved like he does, albeit we prefer him to hold the width. But we know that if Sarr breaks into these kind of spaces, Porro likes to tuck inside to these kind of spaces right here. If Tomiyasu is going to stay in that position, hopefully that can play into our advantage, and that's something we can do. But the problem is, on this side here, with Ben Davies on this side, I don't know if we want him tucking in these situations. We don't. Because the problem is that leaves Saka with so much space. It leaves Van de Ven a lot of space to cover. And Saka can really exploit that space down the line if we ever get caught in the transition and Davies is caught here or even up here. That would be a big, big problem for us.
Yeah, and in terms of what you're saying about Kulusevski and Tomiyasu, if it is Kulusevski up against Tomiyasu on that side, I think that's a positive for us, because I think as well Kulusevski can probably drag Tomiyasu a bit out of position, which would leave a gap. And if it does leave the gap, who's going to exploit that space if Kulusevski is dragging Tomiyasu in?
Yeah, that's the thing. And if Porro's inside, he's not going to be around here, which I like Porro in these situations. He's got great delivery, but
could be Sarr,
What I would like is for us to be smart, because what I like is, we talk about constantly, we rotate, right? It's all about someone being in that position, and it's not so much who's there. It's all about someone being there. And as long as someone's there, it doesn't matter which player is. So I want to see us use those rotations smartly, so that when Porro's kind of cutting inside, actually it's Kulusevski there, and then Porro can kind of go in this position. And then obviously Sarr is still in that position, breaking forward, maybe like there. So that's kind of what I want to see in Spurs be smart about that if Kulusevski is starting. Obviously, when we have these two kind of inverted fullbacks in these positions, what it should lead to Maddison and Sarr break into there, Kulusevski technically and Johnson potentially there holding the line. Now, what's interesting is if we do kind of do that, I was looking at Arsenal's average positions here. We can see it here. So this is, if you look at their average position, let's say against Villa, right? Blah blah blah. You can see Zinchenko's tucked in. Ben White is in his own half, but look how high Saka, Trossard are. You got Jesus and Havertz, almost like a strike partnership up there with Odegaard in behind, and obviously pretty much leaving Gabriel and Saliba up at the back, quite exposed in the wide areas if possible. But that is how they set up at home to Villa. But then you look at their average position when they went away to Man City. I thought this was quite interesting. Look how deep they are. No, only Havertz is inside the opposition half average position. They are very, very deep. The whole back line has dropped. Kiwior is very deep and not cutting inside. Jesus is the left winger. Look how deep he is in that side. Saka's inside his own half as well. All three centre midfielders are inside their own half. So there was a big shift in how they approach the game. So it'll be interesting to see in this one whether they are going to approach it more like the Villa game, where they're pushing the full-backs up, leaving Gabriel and Saliba with a lot of space, or whether they do approach it like they did against Man City, where everyone's dropping back and they're playing very kind of resolute. And if they do that with Havertz up front, are they going to have that ability in the transition, apart from Bukayo Saka, to really break our get our back four? Because if it is Trossard, Saka, and Havertz, there's not too much searing pace in that forward line apart from Saka there.
I mean, Saka's fast. Trossard's a very tricky customer.
He's not fast.
I mean, he's not like searingly fast. He's not like Van de Ven fast, but he's still got a bit of pace about him, you know what I mean? And he's a very dangerous player that has a lot of quality and trickery as well. So in terms of what you're saying, yeah, fine, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's still got pace about him. It's not like he's slow.
Is he faster than someone like Kulusevski? I think he's got similar kind of pace to him. Like, I don't think he's there. I don't think he's the quickest kind of player. He's not a player where over 30 yards, I would be worried that no one's catching up to him. Saka's different. Havertz is kind of slow. Trossard is good. I feel like Trossard is really good when he's coming up against low blocks and he's got that nimble trickery to find a gap, find that bit of quality. When the space is a bit open, I think I wouldn't say he struggles, but he's not like the biggest threat like a Martinelli or a Saka in those positions, I feel. So I wonder how, if they do play Martinelli, because they know we're going to leave a lot more space in those positions, but Trossard has just been so effective recently, you can't really not leave it. You can't leave him out.
I mean, Martinelli's had a really poor season. He just hasn't kicked on whatsoever from last year, but he's still young. I do expect him to turn it around after this season, but he just hasn't been effective whatsoever. I mean, I think he scored like 1 goal in the last 15 games or something like that, which by his standards from last season, the standards that he's set, is nowhere near good enough. And that is why Trossard is getting the nod at the moment, because he's just so much more effective. And I do fear for Trossard getting in behind with the space that Porro does leave, and he might not need that pace to really hurt us.
Yeah. I think Porro would be more worried about Martinelli than he would about Trossard, in my opinion. I think Porro will back himself in a one-on-one situation against Trossard when there's a lot of space. But Porro, Martinelli, who's got that searing pace to really get him, I think he would be more worried about Martinelli getting in behind him than he would Trossard. But the problem is, I feel like Trossard with the ball at feet in this kind of situation, if he's one-on-one like down the byline, like here, in these kind of situations, Porro's coming out to him, that's where I think Porro will be more worried about Trossard. Because then when he's close to him, he can get a bit of trickery to go inside or outside. He doesn't mind going either way, Trossard. And Porro might find himself in difficulty defending those kind of situations. So it's going to be interesting to see how we combat that. But hopefully, I do wonder how we go about. Will Andrew adjust the system a bit? Because in this kind of way, if you've got Arsenal in their positions there, Jorginho potentially, or it could be even Partey in the 6. But
he looked very good coming on against Chelsea, didn't he?
He did. You got Havertz, who drops in as a potential another midfield player as well. So when we're in possession, Obviously, it's going to look hopefully something like this is how it usually looks like with Basuma there, Porro tucking in, Davis tucking in, Sarah Maddison pushing up, Johnson getting wide, Kulusevski getting wide, Son looking to exploit that space. So we will potentially have them outnumbered in the centre here, but if Havertz drops in, all of a sudden that helps balance things out again, and that's where we can really struggle. Obviously, Rice is so effective in these positions. He's going to make sure that Basuma is not getting any influence, but I think Jorginho, if he starts, could be someone we can definitely target because he's a very good tactical player. He's very good on the ball, but I think he struggles a lot to cover the ground if you stretch him. So if Maddison can really try kind of pick up these kind of areas around here, make sure he's drawing Jorginho out, hopefully that can leave spaces around for Sarr to fill into, Basuma to fill into, and we can kind of take advantage of that. The problem is Sarr and Basuma are just not the most creative, so if they get on the ball, they need to up their game and their quality because they need to exploit that kind of space.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about Saliba and Gabriel because obviously a lot has been made about them this season, both of them having absolutely brilliant seasons. But there has been a bit of something with Gabriel recently. When the big games, when the pressure comes, he can be found wanting a little bit, making stupid decisions, making silly passes. So is he someone that maybe we can target in the press to maybe press him into making a few mistakes?
Yeah, I think we need to ruffle his feathers a bit. I think we need to get into his face. I think if you can press him, I think he's shown recently he's liable to making a mistake. And against Bayern, he gave the ball away for the first goal, I believe. Against Aston Villa, he was a bit all over the place on a few occasions when being pressed. And he definitely got that out of the system a bit recently, albeit while I'd say against Chelsea, Nicholas Jackson had a one-on-one, a lot to do with Gabriel struggling in that kind of a situation as well. And obviously Jackson ended up missing, but yeah, recent weeks, Gabriel hasn't quite been on it. He's a bit similar to Romero. He's the one who likes to be a bit of a bulldog. He gets in your face. He's the one who plays very aggressively. So when he's a bit off his game, all of a sudden he can be got at, and he leaves a lot of space when he's off because he confronts you. A bit like Romero, when he misses it, bam, there's all that space to go into. Obviously, Saliba's usually very good at covering that space. So that's why they don't get exploited as much. But definitely Gabriel in recent weeks has not been at the same level he has been. Obviously, he's a massive threat from set pieces. That's been his biggest attribute this season. I think he's got a lot of goals. He's been very effective. But in recent weeks, when teams have put him under pressure, he's faltered a bit. So hopefully we can do the same.
In terms of where teams have had joy against Arsenal in recent weeks is when the teams beat their press right, when Odegaard, Havertz, Rice, a few players like that are caught up the field when from playing out the back. And what I did notice, and I think I mentioned it in the panel show, is that Odegaard likes to occupy two players within the starting press, whether it be a defender in the left back or a defender in the midfielder. And what other teams have been doing, what Bayern Munich did, they got, as soon as the goalkeeper had it, Dyer sprinted out wide to create that space. So Odegaard was stretched, but too much to cover two players. Wolves did it as well. How are Spurs going to be able to complement that?
Yeah, the problem is we usually start our build-up like with Van de Ven and Romero very close to Vicario, and then we try and find Porro. Sarr nips in, we try and kind of create triangles, and then we try and build up. Obviously, Arsenal are one of the best pressing teams in the Premier League. They're very, very aggressive in their pressing way of pressing. As you say, Odegaard usually here. He press it. They usually press quite high up. You got Saka here pressing because he's very, very young. He can cover very quickly a couple of positions. So what Bayern, as you say, they did. If this was Eric Dyer, he went all the way here, which meant Odegaard had a lot of space to cover in between the centre back, into the centre back and the full back kind of thing. So it was very, very difficult for them to cover that space so intensely and so quickly compared to when teams have, like, say, a centre back here. When they're a lot closer together, you can cover both positions. So I do wonder if Spurs have been keeping note of that. If Spurs are going to adjust their build-up, so Van de Ven goes a bit deeper, you got Davis a bit higher, Johnson a bit higher, so it makes their pressing a lot less effective. We saw definitely at the Emirates early on, we got caught a few times with our pressing, with our build-up, sorry. Arsenal were very, very effective in their pressing in the early exchanges of the North London derby back at the Emirates. So hopefully we have learned from that, and hopefully we have learned from how teams have gone about things recently. And maybe if we've taken some notes and some pointers, we can make Arsenal's pressing less effective and start playing through them. What I've noticed as well is like the teams like Wolves and Chelsea even and Bayern Munich, is they were able to break through their press, but a lot of the times they didn't take full advantage, especially Wolves and Chelsea, a lot because, first of all, Arsenal was still a very good defensive team, but also they had a bit of a lack of quality in the forward line. But we have that quality in the forward line, so hopefully that can make a lot of the difference in this game. When we are able to break their press, we can make it count with the likes of Son, Maddison, and Kulusevski in the forward line. That can make all the difference when it comes to this game. So it's going to be very, very difficult when Arsenal do have the ball as well. When they are in possession, I expect them to set up something like this. Havertz there, Saka out wide, keeping the width, Trossard up there, Tomiyasu and Ben White overlapping Saka, Jorginho around these areas. What it means is these areas in the wide area. So Davis is going to be back there, Van der Ven here. So Saka's going to be there. Johnson's going to have to be watching Ben White. Kulusevski's going to have to be watching Tomiyasu. But in these transitions, what we're going to have to do is have Son just running these channels down here. Or it's going to be very difficult, but maybe through the centre it's going to be very difficult. But if he can run those channels and kind of make sure he's holding the ball up for our forward players, that's where we're going to get a lot of joy, because they leave a lot of space down those channels here, Arsenal, especially when they're in possession and they're kind of in transition. So it's going to be very, very interesting. One, if we can catch them on the ball and making sure they're not keeping possession, sustaining attacks. We've got the likes of Maddison who could thread those balls into a Son in behind, and with his pace, he can hopefully get in behind and hurt them.
All right, so there you have it. That is the tactical roundup. Spurs v Arsenal. That is the way that Spurs can combat Arsenal's press, the way Spurs can hurt Arsenal. But there are also many avenues where Arsenal can hurt us as well. So it's going to be a very interesting tactical battle up against Ange Postecoglou and Mikel Arteta this weekend. But that is your tactical preview. Sim has gone for 2-1 to Tottenham Hotspur this weekend. I've gone for 2-2. Both results do all but end Arsenal's title hopes. But thank you everyone for watching the tactical roundup. And look what we have here. We've got a guest to bring on as well. He goes by the name of Brian Daigle. It's the North London derby, Brian. How are you feeling coming into it? Oh, I can't hear him. Can you guys hear him out there?
Can you hear him, chat? Can anyone hear Brian, or is it just us who can't hear him? What's chat saying? No one can hear.
No one can hear him.
Can't hear him, so that's must be. You're not muted, are you, Brian? Nope.
Not this problem again. Can you put the camera on Sim?
Yep. Give us a sec, guys.
You can have a miming.
Yeah, Brian, let's do charades for your score prediction. 2-2. It's a film. First goal scorer. Pigeon. It's Richarlison. Second goal scorer. I like this game. Come on, how are you going to do it, Brian? Come on, it's charades. I can't hear you, Brian. You need to vibe out with your hands. Who's the second goal scorer? Come on. You're not going to give us the old... There we go. There we go. Beautiful. First goal scorer for Arsenal. Death. Kill them. One sec, Brian. Speak again, Brian. Nope. Well, it's clearly coming from our system if they can't hear, if the chat can't hear them. Maybe I don't know. I don't know, guys. We're going to try and get the audio working.
Tell him to log off and come back.
Try and log off and come back in, Brian. Nice one. We'll try and bring Brian Daigle back shortly, guys. If you want more charades, let us know. I enjoyed that. We should do that whenever the sound ain't working. I think that's the best way. Chest pump of Decky, says Cantab. Do the Brennan wink, says Parshant Godra. There you go. Can't hear Brian. TJR says Arsenal will come with high pressure from the start and we will crumble as usual. Well, didn't crumble at the Emirates, so can't be that usual. Nicola Polito says, and Ange thought it was a good idea to attack Chelsea with 9 men. Well, we're going to lose anyway. You might as well lose with a bang. Might as well lose or trying to get something out of the game instead of waiting to lose. Let's see. Robin says it will be Rice, Odegaard, Partey. Their team is fully fit, apparently. Well, fair enough. If it's Partey, then it's going to be difficult. He's been quite injured for a lot of it. He's relied on Jorginho. Let's see what else is being said in the chat. Huang says 4-0. And then he says Newcastle. Oh, I see. Bit of a troll. We're still trying in the back end to get things going. Not sure what's going on. He should have started limping to portray Saka. Very good. Member chat, Contextian Spurs. Welcome to big up to you, Contextian. Big up. Thank you for joining. Thank you for becoming a member. Let's see if Davis Tom 81 says if Davis plays, should tuck in with Romero and Van der Ven, let Porra go up and support Maddison, give him more space. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think Davis should definitely be hanging back if he's going to be playing in this game. But then, is that going to ruin how we set up potentially? Ben Davis hasn't lost once when he has played in the North London Derby. Is that true?
Yeah, apparently it is.
Ben Davis is unbeaten in the North London Derby. That can't be true, is it? No way. I don't know how to look that up. Well, if that's true, why is he not playing every North London Derby? Surely not. Is Ben Davis secretly the best left back in the world? I think he might secretly be the GOAT.
Ariane's been trying to tell us for years.
Who? Yeah, Ariane. Now I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see he's unbeaten every North London derby. If that's the case. Surely can't be true, says Silence. Well, I'm trying to think, because he came in 2014. I think he started both North London derbies that year. We drew 1-1 and we beat them 2-1 with that Harry Kane brace. The next year, we were also unbeaten against them. Danny Rose might have played, though. I'm trying to think of the ones we lost recently. Tottenham versus Arsenal head to head. Let's see. Let's debunk this. Is Davis unbeaten in North London derbies? So derbies we've beaten. Did he not play last year in the North London derby when we lost? Last year, he didn't. It was Longley played left centre back. Davis came. Well, Davis did come on. I don't know if that counts. So whenever he started, I'm guessing we're saying, are we? Again, he didn't play. We lost 3-1 in September 2021. No Ben Davis. Reguilon played. 14th of March 2021 at the Emirates. Yeah, Reguilon played again. Wow, maybe it's true.
It is true.
We lost 4-2. No, that's not true. I've just found one. We lost 4-2 in 2018 and Davis started.
Did he?
Yeah.
Myth debunked.
Myth debunked, guys. Davis is not the GOAT, unfortunately.
Only one loss, though.
I found another one.
Oh, you found another one as well. That's Davis won.
November 2017, we lost 2-0. Ben Davis also started that.
Apparently,
one.
it's only home games.
Aha! They were both at the Emirates. I'll give you that. They were both at the Emirates. Okay, all right. Home games. We'll take that.
Is his audio working now?
I can hear him, I think.
You can?
Yeah, speak, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
You can put it on a wide camera.
Mr. Brian Daigle. How you doing, brother?
I'm all right, brothers. Thank God we've sorted out no more charades because I was running out of things to do, Simeon. I hope everyone in the chat is good. I hope you both are good. I hope Sammy in the back end is good. And yeah, NLD is finally upon us.
Yeah. How's your nerves coming into it? I know how much this fixture means to you and us both and everyone else in the chat.
This game is everything to everyone, really, isn't it? If you're a Spurs fan or Arsenal fan, in all honesty. Do you know what? The build-up, I'm fine. I'm like, tomorrow night, I probably won't sleep very much. I'll be watching. I always watch the 5-1s, the North London derby fixtures. Paul Gascoigne destroying the filth at Wembley. It's that hour from when that team sheet comes out, and that hour from team sheet to kick-off that feels like a fortnight for me. That's when my nerves start kicking in.
What time is kickoff out in Toronto?
9 a.m.
Oh, 9 a.m. Wow.
Well, thankfully, it's not the Saturday, and Bayern Munich done us a huge favour because it would have been 7:30 on a Saturday. So 9 o'clock on a Sunday is better.
What time's the yard opening?
9 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock. So we can get all the. We have to get the Arsenal kit on the doormat and put the Wavy Feet sign up. Then we get all the flags and everything up. So we open up. I think they're open up at 8 a.m.
Lovely stuff. Obviously, the big news coming into this game is Destiny Udogie out at left back. In our predicted lineup, we put Ben Davis at left back. But what would you like to see us do?
I think it has to be Ben Davies. I don't want to see Van der Ven. There's people saying put Van der Ven out there. We discussed it on the panel show this week, saying having him there, the high line is so dependent on him being in the centre that him being out wide it's just going to take away a very, very prominent part of the defence and the way we play. So I think it has got to be Ben Davies. But the most important thing that I've been looking at when you did your front three lineup, obviously you put who was the other two you put next to Kulusevski?
John Son.
Kulu on the right, Son up top, and Brennan on the left.
Yeah, I think, like we said again on the panel show, I think Kulusevski's going to be vital with his hold-up play and everything he can bring. I would actually go, if he's fit, my front three would be Kulu, Richie, Son to begin with. And the reason I would say that is Richarlison will give that defence a torrid time. He will run and the shit out and give it as good as he can get. And then later on in the game, when Arsenal are tiring, if you bring on the blistering pace of Brennan Johnson and Werner, I think that could have a bigger impact because I worry about them, either one of them starting at the beginning, especially if it's Davies tracking back with Werner. So I would like to see Werner and Johnson, come on as impact subs and their pace just literally tear them apart.
That's also a reason why I actually wouldn't start Son on the left, because if Son does start on the left and Arsenal do start to dictate the game and dominate, he's going to be stuck tracking back Ben White all the time. Whereas if he plays up front, you kind of stick him up there, and when we do get the ball, he's ready to go. He's ready to transition. Whereas if he's on the left, if we get the ball, he's going to be in that left-hand side position. He's going to be in maybe sometimes in his own half, and he's not going to be in the positions you want him to be straight away. And he's gonna maybe tire quicker because he's tracking back all the time. That's why part of the reason I would start Son up front as well.
All right. So another reason, or another part of that sim is you could actually put Richie on the left and Son in the centre if it works that way, doesn't it? For a bit. You've got that flexibility with two. Not saying Richarlison is brilliant out there, but I think what Richarlison will give us compared to any centre forward we have is that shithousery and that press and non-stop on the go and unsettling the defence, because I don't think Sonny, Werner, Johnson, Kulu can do it.
Yeah, and I don't think a player like Gabriel wants that. I think you've seen, like, if you can put a bit of pressure on Gabriel, then he can kind of make silly decisions. And maybe Richarlison is the guy to combat that. But maybe having these kind of guys, Timo Werner, Richarlison, to come on late in the game as well could be an avenue for us.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at it, I'm a big fan of Johnson, as people will know. And his best games have been coming off as an impact sub. They have been. And after he's done really, really well, he's got the first team run out. And some games he's had a big impact, some games he hasn't. But I think in a game like this, he comes on a second half sub or 60 minutes, whatever it may be. That frightening pace could terrify. Who would it be there? Tomiyasu?
Yeah, it'll be Tomiyasu, Kiwi, or Zinchenko. Probably Tomiyasu.
There you go. Well, let's hope it's Zinchenko, because Johnson will run rings round him. But that's why I think he can have a bigger impact this game coming off the bench, and we need to have some impact subs, and Johnson certainly fits that category.
Yeah, the reason I think I'm looking at that front three that we've chosen is because you have that bit of hold-up ability with Decky, and also you've got that threat in behind with Johnson and Son. I feel like if we played Son on the left, Richarlison and Decky, there's not enough threat in behind there. You do have Rishi and Decky who can kind of hold the ball up, but if we're in the transition, it's going to be very difficult to get beyond that Arsenal side. And then Son's always stuck out on the left, and when he does get the ball, he's going to be in a chance-creating position rather than a goal-scoring position. So I do worry about that. It's going to be interesting to see what Ange goes with. He's got a lot of headaches to kind of contend with in this one.
Yeah, but listen, at this game, we all know, listen, form goes out the window. It doesn't matter what happens. We just need them to come on that pitch. I mean, you guys, who do you think is the most vital player going into this game that needs to be on their toes? For me, I'm going as far as Vicario, and the reason I'm saying Vicario is, you guys will probably remember, but do you remember we had the goalkeeper Neil Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yes.
There were games at White Hart Lane where he was just absolutely unstoppable. We've got 1-1 draws and everything, but he had an absolute stormer of a game, and I think he is going to be absolutely vital.
I'll take you back to Aurelio Gomez in that derby. I think, was it the Danny Rose derby?
Oh, mate, the Danny Rose derby, do you know what? He made 3 saves. The free kick save from Robin Van Persie in the top corner was one of the best saves I've ever seen by a Spurs goalkeeper. That was out of this world. I think he is pivotal, and obviously we're going to have to be on our game set pieces, which we know is a little bit of an issue for us and a strong point for them. So protecting Vicario and making sure he can do what he has to do is going to be immense in this game.
You know what, Brian? If we defend set pieces like we did at St James's Park against Arsenal this weekend, I literally fear the worst for us. We need to be on our game massively. I hate this bloody zonal marking crap that we do every single game with these defending set pieces. When are they going to bring in a bloody set piece coach?
Well, let's hope something happens in this summer. Because it's not just been with Postecoglou that set pieces have been an issue. This is a long-standing problem with Tottenham and set pieces, but it's been very prominent recently, hasn't it? And like you said, if we tackle set pieces like we did away at Newcastle, let's just say this is going to be a very, very, very messy game.
It could be a massacre. If that's the case, it could be a massacre, because we give away so many stupid corners and free kicks every game. So we just need to, especially in this game, just don't give away any stupid corners. If in doubt, just punt it up the field. Don't punt it away for a corner.
Exactly. I mean, I was at the North London derby with you last year when we lost 2-0, and I walked out at half time.
Yeah, you were with us for some of it.
Yeah, I was with you for some reason. I just got so annoyed. I was like, "This is it. I'm walking out." And the defensive playing, all right, Hugo Lloris was having a mare. If we defend like that, it's not going to be a pretty sight for us. My dad's actually going to the game
is he?
on Sunday. Yeah, one of his mates are going on holiday and gave him the tickets. He's going. I was like, oh God, thank God I said, enjoy the game, Dad. He hasn't been since we won 4-0 to Huddersfield and Mora scored that hat trick.
So he's a lucky charm.
Yeah, and also Huddersfield are a bit of a different beast than Arsenal. Let's face it. But I hope my dad's a good luck charm, so then he'll be 2 for 2 in the new stadium.
Yeah, let's hope so, man.
Would you, in terms of midfield, Brian, what's your midfield three in this game, do you think? Do you agree with us? Or would you consider Højbjerg or Bentancur?
I'm concerned with Basuma. I'm concerned. Do you know what? I'm concerned with Maddison as well. I'm concerned with Maddison.
Brian, the problem is, look, let's get it right. Our whole midfield is off form. There's not one midfield player who's on form right now, but they're not all bad players. I think that's fair to say, right? So yes, there's concerns out of their form, but who do we go with? Because if you're saying you're concerned with Basuma, I can say I'm concerned with Højbjerg as well. Like, none of them are on form. Yeah. So what do we do?
This is it. And like I said, North London derby day, form when everything goes out the window. If Basuma was if Basuma was the Basuma at the beginning of the season, what he was at the NLD when we went to the Emirates, then he's first choice. He's first choice for me because he's that important when he's on his game. I just don't know which Basuma we're going to get. I would definitely start with Sarr. I think Pape has to start. The other two for me are up for debate.
Surely Maddison has to start just because you know what he can bring, and his off the ball work as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Maddison, since he's come back from injury, has looked a shadow of his former self. And who knows? One thing I want to see from Maddison, I don't know if other guys in the chat and ladies and yourself, when we bought him from Leicester, he would take a long-range shot. He would shoot off from distance. I just haven't seen it with him since he's been at Tottenham. I just haven't seen it before his injury as well. We need to see more of that. And when I remember you talking, guys, when Højbjerg took that free kick against Forest instead of Son, and we're like, Sonny, you've got to take it. Maddison's got to be in this equation. I don't know why he's not. These are the things a really good, a shot from long range, a goal from long range, a free kick could be the thing that boosts his confidence. I just want to see more from Maddison, and if there's a game to do it, it's this one, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I was speaking to Sim before about the need of the fans to be completely up for this. Don't come into it with apprehension. You know, as Gary Neville said, brutalise them for 90 minutes. If we do that, surely that gives us a much more increased chance of getting a result in this game.
Listen, there's two ways of looking at it. 100% it does. 100% it does. But like you saw, and you were there for the first NLD that was rescheduled, and we beat them 3-0 with Conte. That place was just out of this world. And then I go back to another Conte one where he said we wanted you for the Milan game, and the Spurs fans once again gave absolutely everything, and the team didn't. The 12th man is obviously vital and can make such a huge difference, and this game it's needed more than ever for this game, because there would be nothing more delightful than to put the final now in their title hopes coffin.
Brian, if I offered you a win in this game but to lose every other game this season, you taking it?
Well, bite your hand off. I'd bite your goddamn. Listen, I say, listen. I go back to the day when I had my season ticket, and we finished mid-table, maybe lower part of the league, in the top of the bottom half. And I always used to say, have a good cup run, and just beat them at home. And this game, honestly, this is everything to me. This is absolutely everything to me. So if I had to choose, win this game and lose the rest, or draw a couple along the way, all day goddamn long, all goddamn day long. This game is either the highest high for me or the lowest of lows. There's times after we've lost, before YouTube and everything, I would turn my phone off, go home, go to bed, and just everyone would know, do not even bother talking to me. Do not even. Like, my mum sometimes will come in and she does it to wind me up and go, it's only a game, and she knows it winds me and my dad up, and I'll be like, Mum, shut up. I love you dearly, but shut the hell up. This is more than this. This game is everything. So if you gave me a win and the rest of the games were a whitewash, I'll take it.
Score prediction, Brian?
My heart is saying 2-2, but I'm not going to say what my head thinks. I'm going with I'm just hoping we can scrape a draw. That's honestly, if like I said, if someone offered me a draw right now, I would bite your hand off.
How much of a good result is a draw in this game in comparison to their title hopes? Does that put another nail in the coffin?
I think it does. I mean, I was anxious yesterday for Man City Brighton. I was like, Brighton, please don't do anything to derail Man City. And then Man City did what Man City do. It'll just be knowing our luck. We'll lose to Arsenal but beat City. That's the Spursy way, isn't it? But I hope it's the other way round. And please God do it. I want to come on here and say, do you know what? I expected a draw. I would have snapped your arm off for a draw, but we got to win and be delighted because, like I said, this game is just the be all and end all to me. And let's just hope we can do it. And like you said, the 12 men and women that are sitting at the ground and everyone around the world watching it are vital.
It'd be interesting if we do win on Sunday and then City and Arsenal win all their remaining games. That would mean that City would win the league by beating us.
And we can all celebrate together.
How wonderful that would be. Man City and Spurs fans can all join just to rub it into the filth.
And did you have no doubt in your mind Chelsea were just going to absolutely roll over for Arsenal as they do?
Loving.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
As you say, Brian, you know, they were probably in the stadium like this singing Kumbaya, we ate Tottenham.
Mate, they were doing that also. They're like when you're at home with Lily and she just rolls over for a belly rub. That's all that Chelsea did. They literally rolled over and said, rub our bellies. Mate, it was embarrassing how poor Chelsea were.
Chelsea probably want Arsenal to win the league just to piss us off.
Yeah, probably.
Well, without a doubt. One thing I will say is the people that want Conor Gallagher, it was like, mate, Chelsea were playing. I didn't even know he was playing. That guy, honestly, I don't get the hype with this guy. I do not want him. All he will do is boost and help Chelsea's financial situation. I do not want Conor Gallagher. Under no circumstances.
All right, well, there you have it. But I know someone that you do want in Crystal Palace's midfielder / left winger in Eberechi Eze. How well is he playing at the moment? Bloody hell.
Oh, he's outstanding. Ben, you'll know we spoke about this many times. Last season, I wanted him over Maddison. I even came on here and said that. I thought I think he's incredible. If we can get him, if we can pull this off, it will give me hope that this summer, if he was the first one through the door, he would give me hope that hopefully this summer will be the big window that we've been told it is. He is a must. I mean, obviously, you know my thoughts for Morgan Gibbs-White as well. They would be huge. I would take Morgan Gibbs-White over Gallagher every day. But if Eze came to Spurs, my God, that would be incredible.
So, Brian, if we signed Eberechi Eze in the first week of the window, is that a tiny little step closer to you saying Levy in?
No. I've told you this before. It will take up to 4 or 5 years of Levy back in
I said a tiny
manager.
step.
Okay, you know when they say pigeon steps, chop the pigeon's step in half, and then we're like that. We're like that much of a step. If Eze comes in, it's a like I said to Dragusin when I put the tweet out and said, well done to the board, well done Levy for getting that over the line and doing it quickly. If Eze comes in, it is a big move, and well done to the club for acting fast and getting it done. But like Simeon said, I think 60 million is just not even. I think it's way above 60, or not way above, but I think you're looking close to 70, 75. And then it's if we go that bold, if we do it in installments, how we do it. But he could be incredible on that left-hand side for us, or wherever. He's a must, top of the list for me.
50 million plus Højbjerg or Skip.
Both. Goodbye, or both. Yeah,
50 million plus Højbjerg and Skip.
I must admit, I love the way that Postecoglou mentioned Skippy's injury and he won't be available. It's like, even if he's on the bench, you don't play him. I mean, it's not the biggest of losses, but yeah, whatever it takes to get Eze, I think he is a monstrous player, and he could excel in this Tottenham team.
I don't know if you have the Spurs app on your phone, but I got a notification just before we went live. So, the notification popped up and it was like, Spurs midfielder out for the North London derby. And I was scrambling, who's out for the North London derby? I was like, Ollie Skip. And I was like, they give me a bloody heart attack.
Yeah,
but,
they're prone to doing that. I do have the app, but I've turned notifications off because I got annoyed with the ones that were coming through. But yeah, they love doing a bit of clickbait, don't they? A midfielder out, you're like, oh my God, who is it? It's Ollie Skip, who, let's face it, I don't think would have got on the pitch at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, Brian, thanks for coming on today, my friend. I hope your nerves hold up and you get some sleep on Saturday night. But enjoy that highlights reel you're going to be watching.
I will do. Have a great weekend, boys. Obviously, I'll be on the after show with whoever's on, and hopefully it'll be a relaxed, happy Brian. And if it's a bad defeat, it may be radioactive. You got nothing to fear, Brian. Marlon's in the studio. I think he's got close to 100% record this season. Well, that's good enough. That's good enough for me. So hopefully it'll be a kumbaya, Brian.
Let's hope so. Brian, thanks for coming on, mate.
See you, Brian.
See you soon.
Bye, bros.
Yeah, I think that is probably all we have time for today, guys. But that is your North London derby preview wrapped up. Everyone, go and relax. Have a good, relaxing Friday night and Saturday, because Sunday is going to be one hell of a day with the North London derby coming up. And we have to end their title dreams in N17 this weekend. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.